Preface. Ethereal Hollywood is a world reconfigured from the golden age of Hollywood, where the legendary stars are not just memories, but immortal archetypes, still living in their own parallel alternative reality. Familiar history is not duplicated but flexible and constantly revisioning itself along diverse pathways. Time and space are also more fluid and less binding. And what has been called magic works in odd and unusual ways, producing scenarios from the silly to the surreal. And since these stories are in an alternative world or dimension, there are variances from real-world facts, such as the relationship between characters, studios, events. This is a fluid world where history flows in unexpected directions. These are audiobooks with imagery synced to the narrative as much as possible, serving as quasi-storyboards to give a rough visual dimension to the stories. Carl Gustav Jung, the fifth Marx brother. Volume 10 of the Ethereal Hollywood series. By Arnold Kalnitsky. The air in Dr. Carl Jung's Zurich study smelled of old books and pipe tobacco. He tapped his fountain pen against a notebook, reviewing patient notes. Outside, rain streaked the tall windows. His housekeeper Frau Schmidt bustled in, holding a silver tray. A cable for you, Herr Doktor. From America. Jung set down his pen. America. It says, Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studios. She squinted at the flimsy paper. They request your expertise urgently. Mr. Irving Thalberg signs it. Jung took the cable, scanning the formal English. Psychological consultation. Behavioral disturbances, contractual obligations. His brow furrowed. They want me to analyze comedians. Frau Schmidt sniffed. Comedians need shrinks. They should try my cabbage soup. She vanished back toward the kitchen. Jung stared at the rain. Hollywood. An absurd detour from his work on archetypes. Yet the mention of collective unconscious manifestations in the cable's closing line pricked his curiosity. He reached for his atlas. Across the Atlantic, Irving Thalberg paced his MGM office. Chico Marx's abandoned hat lay on a sofa next to Harpo's trampled wig. A half-eaten pastrami sandwich sat atop Groucho's script revisions, pages now decorated with mustaches drawn on every character. Thalberg pinched the bridge of his nose. 3 days of filming lost, he muttered to his assistant. Groucho replaced the director's megaphone with a rubber chicken. The assistant winced. And Zeppo parked a donkey in Mr. Mayer's private elevator. Thalberg sank into his chair. Get Jung on the next steamer. Tell him. He gestured helplessly at the chaos. Tell him it's an emergency study in human absurdity. The crossing took 10 days. Jung spent them rereading Freud, then tossing the book aside when Harpo's leaked studio photo fell out. The silent Marx balanced on a chandelier, honking a bicycle horn at cowering producers. Jung's first sight of Hollywood was a billboard of Groucho's painted leer above the words, "He analyzes your wallet." They met in Thalberg's wrecked office. Jung noted Groucho's greasepaint eyebrows smudging his forehead, Chico's fingers drumming imaginary piano keys on Jung's knee, Harpo silently offering him a lit stick of dynamite. Doktor. Groucho flourished his cigar. We hear you specialize in deep thinkers. Jung's notebook remained closed. I observe, he said slowly, watching Harpo swap Thalberg's fountain pen for a squirting flower. Tell me, Herr Marx, when you lock producers in their own safes. He leaned forward, eyes alight. Does the shadow laugh with you? Groucho's smirk faltered. For once, he had no punchline. The brothers exchanged glances, a silent symphony of raised eyebrows and tilted heads. Chico broke the stillness, plinking an imaginary scale on Jung's leather chair. See, Doc, we ain't crazy, he insisted. We're just unbalanced. Harpo nodded vigorously, producing a wobbling gyroscope from his coat pocket. Thalberg buried his face in his hands. The sets flooded with pilfered seltzer water. Margaret Dumont's wig is glued to a prop cactus. And you're discussing equilibrium. Jung ignored him, transfixed as Harpo mimed drowning in invisible champagne, a jerky, tragicomic ballet. The psychiatrist's fingers twitched. Something ancient stirred behind his clinical gaze. Dionysus mocking Apollo. Suddenly, Groucho snatched Jung's spectacles. Perched on his own nose, they slid crookedly. Tell me, Herr Doktor, he purred, peering through the smudged lenses. Ever consider typecasting? Harpo shoved a crumpled script into Jung's hands. The title page read, Dr. Schadenfreude's Laughing Cure. Jung stared. The collective unconscious, it seemed, wore grease paint. Thalberg groaned. That's the Marx's next project, a satire on psychiatry. They want you as the lead. Jung's thumb traced the caricature of himself on the cover, a stern-faced doctor slipping on a banana peel. Harpo honked his horn, a sound like a dying goose. Jung's lips twitched. Not a smile, but the tremor of a dam cracking. Chico leaned close, smelling of cigar smoke and cheap pomade. The script's got everything, he whispered conspiratorially. Slapstick. Romance. A chase scene with Freud. He nudged Jung's ribs. You play the stiff Swiss doc who learns. Chico paused, waggling his eyebrows. To live. Harpo mimed cracking an egg over Jung's head. The yolk, invisible, dripped down the psychiatrist's immaculate collar. Jung picked up the script. Here, under electric lights, absurdity bloomed like a poisonous flower. He turned a page. Stage directions read. Dr. Schadenfreude trips into a fish tank. Clowns laugh. Jung's hand clenched the paper. Then, slowly, he set it down. Herr Thalberg, he said, his voice dangerously calm. Where is my costume fitting? Groucho's cigar dropped ash onto the Persian rug. Silence, thick as stage fog, swallowed the room. The brothers erupted. Harpo honked his horn, spinning in circles. Chico slapped Jung's back. Attaboy, Doc, you'll kill him. Groucho recovered fastest, adjusting imaginary lapels. We start tomorrow. Bring your, analytical tools. He winked. A whoopee cushion standard issue. Thalberg choked on his own disbelief. You can't be serious, doctor. These lunatics. Jung cut him off with a raised hand. His eyes hadn't left the caricature. The shadow, he murmured, almost to himself. It demands expression. Even, especially, through the ridiculous. The next morning Jung stood stiffly in a tweed suit 2 sizes too large, fake spectacles slipping down his nose. A nervous wardrobe mistress pinned a flapping bow tie to his collar. Groucho circled him, puffing smoke. Not bad, Herr Doktor. Just needs flair. He snatched the spectacles, scribbling thick eyebrows onto the lenses with grease paint. Harpo thrust a rubber chicken into Jung's hands. Its vacant eyes stared back. Action! Yelled the director, a man hiding behind a stack of mattresses. Jung blinked into the blinding Klieg lights. Harpo, dressed as a giant baby, toddled toward him honking. Chico, in a nurse's cap, played a frantic chopsticks on a toy piano. Groucho leaned close, stage whispering, Your line, Doc. The unconscious is a circus tent. Jung opened his mouth. Nothing came out but dry air. The silence stretched. Then, deep in his chest, a rumble started, low, unfamiliar, unstoppable. It burst free. A raw, startled bark of laughter. Harpo froze mid-honk. Groucho's painted eyebrows shot up. Behind the mattresses, Thalberg groaned. Carl Jung, prophet of the psyche, had just flubbed his first take. And the sound echoing across the soundstage wasn't disappointment. It was pure, unscripted delight. The brothers swarmed him. Chico jammed a banana cream pie into Jung's hand. For Freud, he hissed. Harpo mimed winding Jung up like a clockwork doll. Groucho adjusted Jung's crooked bow tie. Relax, Doc. Think of it as active imagination. The director yelled, Cut. Jung stared at the pie, its sweet scent cutting through the paint fumes. His analytical mind raced. Defense mechanism. Catharsis. But his fingers tightened on the tin plate. A glob of filling plopped onto his oversized shoe. Another choked laugh escaped him. This wasn't Zurich. This was chaos made tangible. Later, perched on a wobbly prop couch between takes, Jung watched Groucho improvise insults at a stuffed duck. Harpo silently offered him a steaming cup of coffee, brewed in a horn. Jung sipped. It tasted faintly of brass and mischief. You see, Herr Doktor. Groucho paused, cigar ash dusting the duck's head. Life's a messy gag. Trying to balance it. He snorted. That's the real joke. Harpo nodded solemnly, producing a wobbling unicycle from nowhere. Jung watched it weave drunken circles. The rigid lines of his theories blurred. Perhaps the shadow didn't lurk in darkness. Perhaps it danced, honking, in the spotlight. The director called. Places. Jung stood, adjusting his ridiculous spectacles. The grease-paint eyebrows Groucho had drawn felt heavy, absurd. Yet as Harpo thrust the rubber chicken back into his hands, Jung's grip was firmer. He met Groucho's expectant leer. This time, when the Klieg lights hit, Jung didn't hesitate. He flung the pie, not at Chico, but straight at the camera lens. Cream exploded across the glass. Through the sticky mess, Jung's voice rang out, clear and strangely free, "The unconscious isn't a tent." He paused, a real smile cracking through the makeup. "It's the whole damn three-ring circus." Groucho's answering grin was pure, unadulterated anarchy. Between takes, Jung scribbled furiously in his notebook, not patient notes but fragmented observations. Harpo's silent honk, pure id. Groucho's cigar ash, ritualized defiance. Chico snatched the notebook, flipped to a fresh page, and drew a wobbly caricature of Jung tripping over Harpo's unicycle. "See, Doc." Chico tapped the drawing. "You're in the joke now." Jung stared at the absurd image. His own stern face, mid-fall, looked liberated. He tucked the notebook away without protest. Later, filming a scene where Dr. Schadenfreude diagnosed Groucho with terminal whimsy, Jung improvised. He pulled a squirting flower from his oversized sleeve, a prop Harpo had slipped him earlier, and aimed it squarely at Groucho's painted brows. A jet of water hit its mark. Groucho recoiled, sputtering, "Why, that's psychoanalytical sabotage." The crew roared. Thalberg, watching from the shadows, muttered, "He's one of them now." Jung didn't hear him. He was too busy laughing, the sound raw and real, echoing off the soundstage walls. That night, back in his sterile studio bungalow, Jung poured a stiff brandy. He replayed the day. The pie, the honking, the unicycle's drunken wobble. He picked up Freud's discarded book, then set it firmly aside. Instead, he reached for a fresh page. His pen hovered, then scratched out a title, "On the Therapeutic Value of Controlled Chaos." Outside, a distant car horn blared, a sound remarkably like Harpo's bicycle horn. Jung smiled into the darkness. The shadow, it seemed, didn't just laugh. It honked back. The next morning's scene involved Jung chasing Groucho through a revolving door rigged to spin wildly. On action, Jung lunged, only to be whipped around dizzyingly, emerging hat askew and coat inside out. The crew howled. Groucho leaned against a fake pillar. "See, Doc, life spins you," he quipped, flicking cigar ash onto Jung's upside-down lapel. "Question is, do you laugh or puke?" Jung steadied himself, meeting Groucho's eyes. Slowly, deliberately, he spun the door backward, sending Groucho tumbling out in a whirl of flapping coattails. "I choose," Jung declared, adjusting his spectacles, "both." Harpo's approving honk echoed like applause. At lunch, Jung found Harpo alone in the commissary, silently building a tower of custard pies. He sat opposite him, placing his untouched sandwich aside. Harpo slid a single cream-filled pastry across the table. Jung hesitated, then took a messy bite. Cream smeared his chin. Harpo's eyes crinkled. A silent, profound understanding. No words, just shared absurdity. When Chico arrived, rattling off betting odds on Jung's next pratfall, Harpo simply handed Jung a napkin. Jung wiped his face, the gesture oddly intimate. The collective unconscious, he noted, tasted faintly of vanilla. By week's end, filming the climactic therapy riot scene, where patients pelted Jung with feather pillows, he didn't flinch. Feathers stuck to his tweed jacket as he delivered his lines with newfound gusto. The psyche isn't a vault to be cracked. A pillow smacked his face. He spat out a downy plume, grinning wildly. It's a pillow fight waiting to happen. Thalberg watched, slack-jawed, as Jung tackled Groucho into a mountain of cushions, their laughter raw and unchecked. The director forgot to yell, "Cut." The cameras kept rolling, capturing pure, unfiltered madness, and Jung, finally, joyfully, embracing the glorious, chaotic ringmaster within. One afternoon, Jung found Groucho alone on the deserted set, practicing his duck waddle walk. No grease paint, no cigar, just Julius Marx, hunched and thoughtful. The shadows quieter off stage, right, Herr Doktor? Groucho murmured, tracing a finger through the dust on a prop couch. Jung sat beside him, the silence stretching comfortably for the first time. Perhaps, Jung replied softly, it's simply catching its breath. Groucho's answering chuckle held no mockery, only weary recognition. In that dusty half-light, the clown and the analyst shared a moment of startling, inspoken kinship. The premiere of Dr. Schadenfreude's Laughing Cure was bedlam. Spotlights swept the Grauman's Egyptian theater as Jung arrived arm in arm with the brothers, all wearing oversized rubber noses. Inside, watching his own pratfalls projected 30 feet tall, slipping on marbles, chased by a manic duck, Jung's initial cringe melted into genuine amusement. When Groucho quipped on screen, "Doc, your theories are falling flatter than your soufflés," the audience roared. Jung leaned back, a real smile spreading beneath his fake mustache. The collective unconscious, it turned out, loved a good sight gag.